welcome back to Tap That Easy Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Walters, and this episode is sponsored by Copper State Beer Festival. So coming up January 14th at Riverview Park in Mesa, Copper State Beer Festival is happening. So make sure you guys come out to this. It's going to be a great time. They have a ton of places that are going to be there, a ton of vendors. There's craft beer, spirits, hard cider, kombucha, seltzers. There's going to be some local beer bars there. They're going to have food trucks, a wide range of food trucks. Very excited about that. Probably going to go broke spending money on those food trucks because I love a good food truck. So they're going to have axe throwing. They're going to have all kinds of really, really cool stuff. So go to copperstatebeerfest.com, and when you get your ticket, type in the code AZBEER, and you will get $10 off your VIP or general admission plus tickets. And if you go to the website, you'll find out all the other stuff, the whole list of all the vendors and all the exciting stuff that's going to be going on at Copper State Beer Festival on January 14th. So in this episode, Joe Lopez, one of the founders of Copper State Beer Fest, joins me to kind of tell me all about this thing. This is the second year they've done it, and I've heard that it was a fantastic time last year. So they've got some more fantastic stuff ready to rock this year. So once again, copperstatebeerfest.com. Use the code AZBEER to get $10 off your VIP or general admission plus tickets. Let's do this. Let's tap into Copper State Beer Fest. Joe, Cheers, buddy.
Yeah, cheers, Eric.
Thanks for joining the show, man.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Now, last year, I have to admit, I did not make Copper State Beer Festival, and I had a lot of people say, "What the hell were you doing? Like, why did you not make it?" And I don't remember what my excuse was, but just so many great things I heard about the festival. People had a great time. It looked just like a well orchestrated, well designed, very thought out festival. So. Year number 2, man. Is it going to be sophomore slump or what?
Call me out.
No, just kidding, man.
No. One, I appreciate that. Even though that you weren't able to make it, hearing that from other people really does, as the event planner, that makes you feel really good, right?
Yeah.
And definitely seeing it all come together. It was rough planning a beer festival. It's funny that you kind of mentioned that. A lot of people. I was hanging out with some brewers the other day. They're like, "Is this your full-time job?" Yeah. I'm like, "Well, it kind of is, yeah." It does take a lot of work.
Sure.
For sure. Just a lot of communication, as you can imagine, between not only all of our alcohol vendors, but also all of our food vendors, all of our retail vendors, city people, all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think me and my business partner Long were very happy with how the event turned out last year. It was our inaugural event. We had 3,000 people.
Nice.
That's a win in our book, especially for an inaugural event. This year we have a lot of things in the works. I don't know if you've been following our social media much or on our website. We have, I believe it's 6 total collab beers in the works.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, heck yeah. So that was something that we wanted to push this year for our event. Every year with an event, like someone mentioned the other day, are you going to start making them themed?
Yeah.
And I don't know if we'll ever do that, but we're constantly just pushing. We want to constantly push the envelope on what can we do better year after year. And we send out post-event surveys for all of our vendors, all of our partners, all of our sponsors, as well as our attendees. And we really do take that to heart. And to see, and I love criticism. I want to see what we can improve on and what we did well. Yeah. And majority of the feedback was very positive, but there's a few things that we do need to tweak with our event. But no event's going to be perfect.
For sure.
No event's going to be completely smooth. But I think overall our event last year went pretty well. Yeah. Again, just based off the surveys, talking to my staff, my volunteers, my vendors. But this year, I mentioned the collabs. We're up to, I think, close to 80 breweries being represented this year.
Okay.
Last year, I think we were at 50.
Okay.
My goal is to hit 90, and then total alcohol vendors. Even though we call it Copper State Beer Fest or Copper State Beer Festival, we're trying to hit 120 total alcohol vendors.
Okay, nice.
And I love beer, but I also love bourbon.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I also love wine, and honestly, all types of alcohol. If it's a good product, it's a good product. If it tastes good, it tastes good.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So for this event, pushing the number of vendors. Again, I'm trying to hit 120, and we truthfully just want to involve the craft community as much as possible. We're here to support the craft community as much as possible, and the more vendors we could get out, I think it's better for everyone.
Yeah.
And hopefully, and I think majority of people don't look at it as like competition. They want their friends there, right?
For sure.
I feel like the community here is very tight in the brewery community, and I can't speak for the other winery community or whatnot. Obviously we're heavy on the breweries, and I kind of have deeper relationships with the breweries. But yeah, we're pushing for more vendors. We're pushing. We want to minimize our wait times. That's always a top goal for us.
Sure.
Going to any event, waiting in line prior to getting in, waiting in line then for beer or for wine or whatever product you choose to consume, waiting in line for restrooms, waiting in line for food.
Yeah.
So we constantly keep the attendee experience as well as the vendor experience in mind in our planning. It's paramount. And we constantly want our vendors to come back year after year. Whether they're the same vendors, we want all the same vendors to come back and want to constantly add new vendors to the event. And if we outgrow our space, then we'll move to a different venue. But if we had 500 alcohol vendors at the event, we'll do it. In whether it's people, and obviously we probably don't have that many here in Arizona, but if we get a lot of out of state, which we do already for this year's lineup, we're going to continue to push it.
Yeah. I dig it, man. And that's a key, right? Is bringing people back, right? Bringing not only the guests but like the vendors, right? Like they have a good experience and like, hell yeah, dude, I can't wait for Copper State this year, right? Rather than these guys, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you said you're a relationship guy, right? Like that's very crucial for It just seems like you as a person is relationships are very important, and that's this community, right? I found this is a very it's a guarded community, right? It's a lot of people who have quit something they hated to pursue something they love, so they're it's their baby, right? And they're like, all right, well, who is this guy, right? But if you're coming at it with a good heart, I won't say it's kind of easy to get in, but once you kind of show what you're all about, they're like, oh shit, okay, these guys are looking out for us. So let's back up first, because it was interesting. But right before this, we did a simple sessions with Gabo Fayuca, and you said that you went to high school with him. He was your brother's age or something?
Yeah. So I have two older brothers. One of them is 3 years older. I believe Gabo was his age, and I believe they were friends. I can't recall, but no, I remember Fayuca back in he went to Tolleson Union High School. Are you aware of that?
I'm not sure. I should have asked him.
But I'm pretty sure there's only one Gabo Fayuca.
Yeah, it's not a very common name, right? Yeah.
And I believe I recognize that logo as well on your T-shirt.
Yeah, I had to fanboy when I
interviewed him. But yeah. So I went to high school with them. Like I said, I was a freshman when they were seniors, so I really didn't know of them. I'm pretty sure I met them once or twice. But
so did you grow up here?
Yes, I did. I grew up on the west side of town. I grew up West Phoenix. I moved around quite a bit, but ultimately went to high school, Tolleson Union High School in Tolleson. And then, from there I ended up going to college, Arizona State. And I stayed local for a while and then moved after college and then came back. It's funny, I told myself I would never come back.
Really?
I had another event planning job in Utah. I was actually planning 5K fun runs, and it took me all over the country. And I mean, I've been to, I think, 42 states, several cities within all those states, Hawaii, Alaska, Florida. I mean, it took me everywhere. Maine. And without that opportunity, I wouldn't have been able to afford to explore all these different places. And I learned Arizona is beautiful. Growing up here, it was always all I knew, and it was the desert. It's brown here. It's brown here. It's brown here. And I'm like, I want to go somewhere where it's green.
Yeah.
And I actually moved to Utah. Utah's pretty green out there.
Yeah.
But I traveled literally to the Northeast, and you're like, oh, this is green, but super humid.
Yeah.
And it's like
Mosquitoes
the summers. Mosquitoes, you know. And ultimately, and my family and like my core friends live here in Arizona. So it was time to come home.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how did you get into event planning? Like, what was that like? Did you know at a young age, like, this is what I want to do, or how did that happen?
That's a funny question. At a young age, I want to drive a dumpster truck.
Okay. Nice.
And my mom let me chase those dreams as a young child, and there's nothing bad to say about that.
Yeah.
And, you know, just as a little kid, it's like, oh, I want to be a cop. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a doctor. And when I went to college, architecture was my first major.
Okay. Nice.
And that changed several times, then pharmacy. Then ultimately, I knew for sure I wanted to be a doctor. I was taking all my prereqs for it. And as I believe my junior year, I really thought about what it entailed.
Okay.
All the years of schooling, all that. And it just wasn't the right path.
Sure.
And I actually kind of fell into event planning.
Okay.
Couldn't really find a job with my degree. I got a degree in exercise science.
Okay.
After school or after college. I got exercise science degree in college for my undergrad. And from there, I couldn't find a job. And I just fell into, I worked at Roadrunner Sports.
So this is here. This is in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Which seems crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like, it seems like a fit type of city.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
And
warm
it's
weather.
a huge city, right?
Yeah.
So, but they were like, nah, we don't have nothing for you.
Yeah, well, you know, there's with exercise science degree, there's several things you can do, right?
Sure.
Like you can get into personal training, you can get into owning a gym. There's all these different routes you can take. I actually specialize. It was more of a public health route.
Okay.
ASU just didn't have that type of degree, and I loved it. I was all about health, eating healthy, exercising, all that. But once I started looking at jobs, and I probably should have done this in college before getting a degree and something like that, nothing really jumped out at me.
Okay.
And I have friends also in the same field, and they do things that more power to them, but that I wouldn't be able to do. I learned after college that I truly do need to do something I'm passionate about. And I just fell into, I worked at a boutique running store that specialized in running shoes called Roadrunner Sports there in Tempe. And a portion of my job was event planning.
Okay.
And from there, I met the company that I ended up working for in Utah. They were doing like a T-shirt pickup before like their 5K run there in Tempe. And they were hiring like crazy.
Yeah.
And I just responded. I became friends with one of them just on social media, and she made a post. And it was wild. And I just responded. I said, hey, I'd love to apply. She said, can you interview tomorrow? And I interviewed, and I believe within a day or two, they offered me a job.
Nice.
And I just put in 2 weeks. 2 weeks notice at the running store, and I drove straight to Utah in a little, and it was.
And a little what were you going to say?
Mitsubishi Lancer that doesn't fare too well in cold weather, specifically snow, which there's a lot in Utah. But so I just packed that up with whatever I could, didn't bring a bed, nothing, and just moved to Utah.
Nice, man.
Yeah. And
how long ago was that?
2013, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. So
going on 10 years now.
Yeah. So that job, it was very startup-y. It was the company, their first event was in 2012. And it was more of they threw you in there, you either sink or you swim.
Yeah.
And, doing that, I wasn't used to that. I had jobs previously where there was a ton of training, and that's what I was used to.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think that alone has made me a better event planner, because you need to figure shit out.
Absolutely.
Can I cuss? Is
Absolutely.
that okay?
Yeah.
All right. But you need to figure shit out.
Absolutely.
You know, it forces you to. You're vulnerable, and you need to learn how to fix things. Think on your feet. No matter how much planning you do with an event, there's certain things that you can't plan for.
Absolutely.
You just can't.
Yeah.
So being well organized helps as much as possible. But again, you have to be able to think quickly on your feet. and just roll with the punches.
Yeah. That game plan goes out the window real quick sometimes, right?
Yeah. And, it gets scary. You're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
Especially you got somebody right in your face asking you a question. You're like, I can't ignore this. I can't hit the red button on my phone and say, I don't want to deal with this right now.
Exactly. You can't just go hide. You can't hide in a porta potty. I suppose you can, but they'll probably never come back to your event if it's a attendee. But speaking of which, that's funny because it's, we care all about the attendee experience as well with our events, and it truly is easy when you have like an upset customer. Maybe not easy all the time, but just to make them happy. It's something simple, right?
Yeah.
They come to you, they're like, pissed off about whatever, and you're just like, oh, well, I'm sorry that happened, whatever mistake, or whether it was on us or not, and then we just come back and say, how can we fix it, right?
Yeah, own it.
Yeah, we'll doing this, we'll giving you this, or how can we help you? And typically they loosen up a little bit, lighten up, and they're like, oh, thank you. Oh, you didn't have to do that. Whatever the case is, I'm all about customer service. And the funny thing is, I actually worked at In-N-Out throughout high school and college. Yeah. And they're all about customer service. I don't know if you've ever been in In-N-Out, but that's the number one thing, that and quality, right? And I think, people always laugh at me. They're like, oh, you got that from In-N-Out? I'm like, they're still around for a reason.
Absolutely.
And when you start comparing fast food restaurants, if you will, it's like, oh yeah, In-N-Out's the best.
Yeah.
For a reason. It's an experience when you go to In-N-Out and you're eating a quality product and people treat you right. Which is oftentimes getting lost now, you know, in especially in the serving industry or restaurant industry, if you will. So that's something that we always keep in mind. And it's easy because majority of our volunteers and staff at our event are my friends and family, and we all kind of have a similar mindset. Well, you know, we're very welcoming. We want to treat people right from the start. It creates a better experience for people, and that's what I care most about. I want people feeling welcome when they come in, not, hey, thank you for coming. All right, see you next year. It's more
thanks
of
for your money.
How you guys doing today? Thanks so much for coming out to our event. It's a warm welcome, and my family and friends are just, I learned from them growing up. So it's easy. I don't have to worry about hiring a lot of staff who you're like, I hope they don't talk to a customer this way. Or an attendee. So it really much helps. I'm very appreciative for my friends and family. And they want to see me succeed with these events, so they're more than happy to help us out.
Heck yeah! I mean that's the hard part, right? Having people to have that same vision, right? To have that same vision and that same, because you have to. There's some sacrifice in that. You have to You have to swallow your pride. You have to be like, I want to say this to this person, but but you got to realize like the position you're in, and to bring on a bunch of people that have that same mindset, that's really hard. But if you have your family and friends, that's awesome, man. Mm-hmm. Well, so how did it? Were you into beer before, like as you were doing the fitness stuff?
Not so much in college actually. I really didn't drink much in college.
Gotcha.
And that's when people drink the most. I think because I was so set on like fitness, like I ran more or less every day. Mm-hmm. I was going to the gym, multiple times a week, eating really healthy. It wasn't, I think it was after college. And being in Tempe, 4 Peaks.
Sure.
Was an OG.
Heck
so just I could walk there depending on where I lived in Tempe at the time, but I knew where it was. Sleepy Dog after college was right there in the neighborhood. And I actually would just go, and this might be weird to some people, but I would go and like read a book. I would just go to the bar, like the bar area, read my book and just drink beer. And I love doing that. And I just kept trying more and more beer. And eventually I was like, oh, craft beer is actually really good. And another thing that I should probably mention is I worked at Total Wine in college too. And I remember all the guys that worked there, they would make fun of me because I was drinking Blue Moon, right? And they're like, dude, we have all this beer here. And you're drinking that stuff. I was like, I like it. And they're like, and they're like, well, try some IPAs. I'm like, I've tried them before. They're bitter as shit. Not my thing, man. And they're like, no, I promise. If you keep drinking them, you build a palate, you'll like them. I'm like, all right, whatever. and working at Total Wine, I think I would bring one beer home a day,
Okay.
a different beer every day.
Yeah.
In all types of beer, all types of styles. And I don't know, you eventually develop a palate for
sure.
certain beers.
Yeah.
There's still certain beers that I don't care for too much. Now that I've drank a lot of beer over the last 12 years.
Yeah.
But IPAs are surprising. Like West Coast IPAs are surprisingly not still my favorite beer, but they're up there. I love Imperial Stouts too.
Imperial Stouts are your way to go.
You're around, even in the summer here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so that's really interesting because I wasn't really much into beer either, right?
Yeah.
I didn't really like beer growing up because I grew up in Ohio, so it was like Busch Light.
Yeah.
You know, if we had some, actually Yingling's good, right? But we never, like, you had to go 5 miles across the border to Pennsylvania to get Yingling, right? So, because, I mean, our town was divided by State Line Road. Like, so we could drive on State Line Road and not get beer on the Ohio side, and then, you know, half mile this way you could get, you know, Yingling, not beer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't really like beer. And it wasn't until I moved out here in 2007 started getting into, like the Leinenkugel Sunset Wheat and even like Amber Bock, you know, some of the bigger, you know, but it was a different flavor. It was like, oh shit, this is good.
Yeah.
Like this is good. And then you start getting into the local stuff. But that was the same for me. And maybe yours was based on health decisions, which is probably better. Mine was just lack of quality, right? So, but so where does it go from there, right? How do you go from, you know, you're doing events, you know, doing these you said fun run, right? The fun runs.
Yeah, 5K fun runs.
How does that progress into Copper State?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Kind of get that all the time. It's like, oh, why'd you start planning beer festivals? I'm like, well, I like beer.
Yeah.
So truth be told, so me and my business partner, Long, so once COVID hit, right, no events were happening.
Yeah.
You know, virtual, digital events.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
It was like a nice try, but it was good for that, like what was happening.
Yeah, and you know, it was definitely necessary, but I'm not one, like the whole computer thing, Skype video, even when it comes to like conference calls, when people are like, oh, you want to do a video? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like I you know, I barely wear clothes because I work from home, you know, and it's like, oh, do I really want to put a nice shirt on, all that?
Yeah.
So when COVID hit, I was actually working. I was contracting. I had a small like consulting business, event business. And I was just contracting with multiple companies. And when COVID hit, obviously, especially large gatherings, right?
Yeah.
Especially marathons, large runs that are thousands of people, they weren't happening.
Yeah.
So from there, I had to pivot. And my business partner, Long, he was in the insurance industry, and he actually wanted to work with the alcohol industry for the longest time. I think he approached me 3 years prior, so that would have been in 2017, 2018, to join him on this endeavor. And once COVID hit, I called him up, and I was just like, hey, now's the time to do it.
Yeah.
Once COVID's over, however long that's going to take, I'm just going to go back to events. So if I'm going to join you, I'm probably going to join you now.
Yeah.
So immediately, he's one of my good buddies. He was all for it. He's like, let's do it. So we did insurance specifically for the alcohol industry, breweries, wineries, distilleries. We jumped straight into it. And from there, we were thinking about what we want to do an event because I have the event planning background. He's like, we should do a beer festival. I think together we're like, we should do a beer festival. And originally the thought came from, we're like, we want to promote our clients. We'd love to promote our clients, but you can't just have a beer festival with a few clients. At the time we only had a few clients.
Yeah. Five brewery.
Not even five, especially here in Arizona. So we're like, you know what? Let's just all do all the event planning along. He kind of took on some of my responsibilities on the insurance side, and I just started reaching out. Literally every brewery I can think of. There's lists out there of Arizona. I'm pretty sure I still miss plenty. There's just so many that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
I believe there's one called Edge of the World.
Oh yeah,
over there. I think it's on the border
that's
of Utah.
an interest. Yeah, it's an
Have
interest.
you been there?
Yeah, we did an episode with that. I did an episode with that because my buddies from Ohio, we all met in Zion, and so
cool.
I'm like, I'm driving up. I'm gonna hit this brewery up,
Yeah.
like in interesting place because it's in what is Colorado City. I don't know if you know the story of Colorado City.
I don't.
Like, look up Colorado City.
Okay.
Warren Jeffs, like I don't remember what the. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I watched that documentary.
Yeah, you go in, dude. We went into. Hold on, I'm gonna switch this battery out because it's gonna stop. I want to tell this story though because this was crazy. So yeah, we go to Colorado City and it was during COVID. I remember, and so we're all thinking there's 3 of us, right? So 3 of my buddies met us there, and 3 of us drove up, and I'm like, we should put our mask on, right? Like this is the middle of COVID. You got to wear masks to everything. Yeah. And as we're walking in, my one buddy's like, dude, I don't see anybody with masks on, man. He's like, I don't know. And as we're getting closer to this grocery store, really nice grocery store, noticing a lot of similar looking people, a lot of women in long dresses. Oh. And we go into this grocery store and it's like the record scratched. It was like, 3 tall dudes, my one buddy has this big beard. We completely stood out, and we had taken our masks off before we got in there. Just kind of, my buddy's like, dude, I think we should take it. I'm like, really? Like, what's a big deal? He's like, just trust me. So we get in and people are looking around corners at it. So immediately we felt out of place. But the town is starting to kind of, I don't say recover, but kind of progress. Yeah, progress. And then when we met the guy at the brewery, he was awesome. I can't remember his name at this moment, but he was great, and he told us the whole story about the place. Like, and it's very intriguing, man, very intriguing. But anyways, so you're like, you start hitting places up, like
So I just went down the list. Like I said, we want to involve the community as much as possible, and and we reached a point. I reached out to all the breweries, right, that I could think of or came across here in Arizona, and being not a native, I grew up here. I was born here. I knew majority, or I thought was majority of the breweries. Just, I've hit up several, but I just learned how many new breweries there were, especially being gone for so long, right? Because I moved back right when COVID hit. Okay. And I'm like, oh shit, there's literally breweries all over the valley now. Yeah. And again, the furthest places you could think of. Yeah. And some of them were around even when I originally lived here. But anyways, I reached out to all the breweries, and it was kind of a progression. Me and my business partner, we talked daily multiple times a day, and we reached a point where like, well, what if people don't like beer? like from a business standpoint, sure. 1, and 2, or actually no, because we also had clients who were wineries. Okay. And we wanted to involve them as well. And we actually had clients that were distilleries. So those 3 main groups were already in. And we were like, well, even then, what if we need to hit all demographics? We need to hit all age ranges,
This was, sorry to interrupt, but it almost is like, okay, let's do this. This is cool. And then you start getting into the nuts and bolts of, you're like, oh shit, like this is a little more complicated,
exactly,
right? Yeah,
exactly. Especially when it comes to, permitting for liquor. I learned a lot. Trust me.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So we had breweries, wineries, distilleries, because we want to support our clients for sure. And then from there, we're like, well, college kids, what if they don't like any of these? Yeah. And we had other inquiries. Hey, we're a seltzer brand. Can we come out? And obviously, we have some really good cideries here, right? Yep. Now 6 Word Cider, Cider Core, that we wanted to represent at the festival as well. Because oftentimes, I can't speak for all festivals, but I feel like oftentimes a beer festival is exclusively beer, right? Sure. And you can argue maybe that's how it should be, but we wanted to involve as many people as possible and support, again, the craft community. Next thing you knew, I think we ended up last year with 90 total alcohol vendors represented.
That's impressive for a first-year festival, for sure.
Yeah, it kind of blew my mind, and it was a lot of work. I literally, you could ask Long at some point, he'll be at the festival this year, but I was literally sleeping like 3 hours a night, probably the whole month leading up to the event. girlfriend wasn't too happy about that. But
Well, why? Like meaning like fielding questions, like what was happening?
yeah, so we're a small team. Again, my business partner was mainly managing the insurance side of our business, separate business. It was me. We had two people on our marketing team, handling digital ads, Instagram. But you'd be surprised, especially as the event gets closer, it's message after message after message, whether people want to be vendors or attendees who, have questions. It's pretty much moved to, right? Like people just ask questions on social media now rather than sending emails, right?
For sure.
Yeah, because you're probably going to get a quicker response. So, and I filled in anything in between, right? I did the permitting, I did all the vendor relations, outreach, all that. And it just became a lot of work. So I would wake up 3-4 in the morning, start emailing away. And even when it came to like our ticket design, I'm not a designer, we outsource that. But even giving them an idea, right? Giving them, hey, this is what we need. And just renting all the equipment, everything that you can think of that can possibly go into an event. I was kind of trying to fill in those gaps. Where I could. So it was a ton of work. We did a few pre-parties last year too, which we're actually doing a lot more this year.
Nice.
Leading up to the event, more specifically 2 weeks prior, and then the week of the event as well.
All that's on the website. People can follow it.
Not yet.
Okay.
We are going to be announcing that pretty soon. Just with the holidays,
Sure.
we don't want to throw too much information at people.
It's information overload at this point.
So pretty much, I think probably either after Christmas or probably after Christmas because we have a few in early January.
Because the event is the 13th,
the 14th.
14th.
Yeah,
okay.
Saturday the 14th. We we'll be announcing those soon. Have plenty of amazing partners who are willing to have a pre-party at our event. We'll probably raffle off some pint glasses, some T-shirts, potentially some tickets at these pre-parties. And another thing, again, going back to supporting, for us, it was a way we're like, hey, if we can do this on your like not so busy days, so we could try to drive people to your guys' businesses, because obviously, Friday, Saturday nights, they're like, dude, we're already too busy. You might add more stress to us. We'd appreciate the business, but it might be a little too much. So our idea was just, hey, again, we want to support you guys as much as possible. If this is a potential, we'd love to come in, again, on a Monday through, and even some Thursdays are a little too busy for people, right? That's probably like a prime happy hour day. Our I think we have a total of 7 right now that are in the works for a pre-party. That information will come out pretty soon.
I like that approach too, right? Because you're not trying to piggyback off of their, like, hey, we know you're going to be busy Friday, so we want to do the event Friday. You're like, no, we want to bring people to you. We're not going to just capitalize on your crowd, right? Like, I mean, there's a little bit of that, right? Because
course. It's a partnership.
Yeah, but it's also like you're bringing something to the table.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah.
And with any type of business we do, right? Everything we do, again, it goes back to relationships and partnerships. We want to support our vendors and partners as much as we want them to support us. Yeah. And we understand certain things. If certain vendors don't do like flyers, right? Depending on like what type of branding or whatnot they have, like we totally understand. Or if because we also have promotional coasters, right? And we hand those out as well to certain people who already don't have their branded coasters. And we totally get it. A lot of people stick to their branding, and they're like, hey, unfortunately, we can't. And I'm like, nah, that's cool. I get it. And others are like, heck yeah, we want to put our coasters. Otherwise, we got to buy our own.
So but that's a spectrum of it, though, right? Like,
for sure.
Yeah, and that's awesome, man. So one thing I know you guys did too that I thought was really cool was you implemented the I guess for lack of a better term, the influencer community, right? Of getting Rachel Bierkowski,
Rachel's amazing.
Paul, Sons of Suds, getting people that are on the fan side of it more. I don't want to say fan side because they're. Rachel also works within the industry as well, but kind of bringing a different voice to this, right? Showing appreciation for them, and then also, kind of utilizing their reach a little bit of, because people look to them as like, oh shit. promoting this, this. So it kind of gives some, I don't want to say validity, but I just thought that was a really cool approach that you guys took.
Oh yeah, thank you. And that approach just came out last year, right? Again, even aside from truly alcohol vendors, if you will, breweries, wineries, distilleries, cideries, all of them, we want to make this event as community based as possible.
Yeah.
And I believe Paul from Son of Suds,
Mm-hmm.
Sons of
Yep.
Suds. I always
say Son of Suds too,
Yeah,
but then it is Sons of Suds.
Sons
yeah,
of
yeah,
Suds, right?
yeah.
I always miss the S's somewhere. Sorry, Paul. But him, I believe he reached out to us. I can't recall who reached out to who. And he wanted to get involved with the event. And I met up with him actually at Hell of a Brewing.
Okay. Nice.
And he was a really cool dude. And he's like, hey, I just want to support you guys as much as possible. And I don't know, a light bulb went off. And I was like, well, you have a pretty good voice, man. I've seen your videos on Instagram. Do you want to be the MC for the event?
Yeah.
He's like, wait, what? He's like, dude, I'd love to. He's like, it would be an honor. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
no, it's you. Like, I'll be honest with you, you'd be helping us out. Like, it's great to have you. He's like, no, I would love to. Like, I love being, in front of people, and I'm very comfortable. And
Yeah.
he came out to a few of our pre-parties last year, and did like announcements for us when we did the raffles, because I hate talking in public. I get really nervous.
Yeah.
I turn red. It's just not my forte.
Yeah.
Took public speaking in college. Did not help. People are like, dude, get down. Like you I can hear it in your throat. I could talk to anyone one-on-one. I don't
Sure.
care if you're
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos, whoever you are. Like, I don't mind talking one-on-one with people. It's just very difficult for me to talk in front of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting him involved, he's been nothing short but amazing in supporting us, and we try to do the same thing back, right? And you mentioned Rachel. Same with Rachel. Alina, Craft Girl.
Oh yeah.
They're all awesome. I hang out with them. We go to events together. Like with Alina and Dan, her husband, we went to why am I blanking? The biggest beer festival in the country.
GABF.
GABF.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good, man.
But I shared Airbnb with them. They're
Yeah.
just really cool people who also love supporting the community.
For sure.
And Rachel with Beer Babes. I try to attend all of her events, and she's actually doing another collab beer this year that she's going to release at Copper State.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's another Bay Brew. Also going to do it with Bone House again, because she works there. So yeah, just again trying to involve the community as much as possible. It just creates a different experience and a vibe, if you will, to the event. And we're going to continue to try to duplicate that. But going bigger and bigger each year, getting more people involved if we can.
Yeah.
It's a little more work for me, but I'm all for it. I'm trying to. This is my baby. I'm trying to grow it in on all levels.
For sure.
Not just attendee numbers.
Yeah.
There's more to our events than ticket sales.
Yeah.
I would love to sell out every event, but
Absolutely.
I also just want as many people in the community involved to have a great time at the event. And even throughout the year, if we can meet up at any of these breweries, wineries, distilleries to have a drink. Or like attend any of their events to support whatever their mission is, or just support them in general.
For sure.
Because a lot of these influencers, if you will, people involved. I personally don't like using that word. Just
that's why I was like,
it has a stigma to it, and I don't want to consider my friends influencers, but these people that I just spoke of who are involved in the community,
who are influencers, but not the influencer that now we know as influencers, right? Yeah,
exactly.
The original influencer, right? People that influence people.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. So they're doing a lot of collab years, right?
Yeah.
Just with breweries in general. Big Sexy. Do you know Big
Oh,
Sexy?
yeah, Big Sexy Mike.
Yeah,
Heck yeah.
He just did one with Kitsune, right?
Yeah.
Like a s'more stout.
The s'more stout, yeah.
Which I'm probably going to grab some after this.
Nice. Heck yeah. You're in the hood.
Yeah,
You're in the hood. You might as well,
I know.
right? Yeah.
Tempe
You
is
got Lake Pleasant over here, too. Have you been to Lake Pleasant?
I haven't.
Dude, Lake Pleasant. Front porch is just right up here.
Uh-huh.
Front
I've been
porch
there.
is 7 minutes that way. go to
Okay.
Lake Pleasant.
All right.
To those, yeah.
Okay.
They make some legit. I don't know if you like sours.
I like
But
sours.
they
Yeah.
have a blood orange sour right now that in the can is like the Kool-Aid Man.
Mhm.
Like it's
Okay.
pretty badass. Yeah, but
Okay.
great people as well. But yeah, Big Sexy Mike's. I mean, that's really cool because they put. They're doing this, Mike works at, I think Mike works at Amazon. Rachel works at Bonehouse and the Musical Instrument Museum, right? So their extra time is going towards promoting these places. This is
Yeah.
like their free time, right? It's fun for them, right? Like, I mean, they're drinking beer and having a good time,
Exactly.
but they're putting time and effort into this, and to recognize that, I think that's awesome, So yeah, no. So carry on, Parker.
Oh yeah, no. But yeah, to answer your question, as you mentioned, taking the the influencer approach or people involved in the community, we just wanted to involve the community, and the community is not, as much as I love all of our alcohol vendors, it's not just that. It's everyone who likes promoting craft beverages in general. So yeah, having all of them out and having them, if they want to do something more involved with the event, I'm happy to have them out in whatever capacity, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, Rachel's releasing a new Bay Brew. Paul is going to MC. Alina and Dan typically just come out to hang out, which is great. Any
that's what
support,
she does, though, right? Like she does that very well.
Yeah. They love beer. They want to come out and drink. And I think Dan, her husband, actually, he's a videographer, and I think he was going to take some shots at our festival this year.
Heck
So again, and it's just, you meet these amazing people who love beer just like I do.
Yeah.
And who are just cool. They're cool to hang out with.
Yeah.
Cool to spend time with, go travel with, whatever.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll wrap this thing up. I think my camera stopped there.
Oh, no problem. All good.
Now, if you're watching the video still, now you're gonna have all the information about the festival on the screen. So someone goes to Copper State Beer Festival. What should they expect? From the festival, like what should I experience? Because I know already, I wasn't even there, but just from seeing the people you guys are adding this year, and to see the things that you guys had this year, I know the difference, but I want to hear it from you. Like what makes Copper State Beer Festival different?
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of alluded to this earlier in our conversation. First thing we focus on is getting into the festival, right?
Yeah.
We do multiple lines to get in. We hire extra security to facilitate to expedite the process. Actually,
Hire extra security to make more. I like that, man.
When it comes to event planning for me, I don't want to say I spare no expense. Obviously, we do have budgets, but we look at all the points where we feel like we might have issues, right?
Sure.
Pain points, if you will. And ultimately, it ties back into the attendee experience, right?
Yeah.
Participant experience, what have you, whatever term you want to use for attendees, and our vendor experience. But the first thing for the attendee experience is, how long is it going to take for them to get through the doors?
Yeah.
And we have X amount of security checking IDs. The next group of security is checking bags. Next group of security or staff is scanning tickets and then applying wristbands, right? From there, you go straight to grab your tasting glass.
Yeah.
And then from there, one thing, I'll mention it now, is kind of secret, we're keeping it under wraps. We're actually doing a welcome beer tent.
Nice.
I'll leave the brewery to the event day. Just I kind of want to keep it surprise. But yeah, as soon as you get your tasting glass, the first beer pour you get, which is going to be a collab beer, with another brewery.
Yeah.
The first beer you get is not going to go against your drink samples, right?
Okay.
So if you're a VIP, you get 18. If you're GA plus, you get 12, and if you're a GA, you get 10. And then if you're DDs, you're there to help out your friends and family.
It's not a loophole. It's not a loophole to get a cheaper ticket, right?
but they do owe you at least a 6-pack when you get home.
Yeah.
And then from there, and the idea actually came from this brewery. I'm just gonna say it because I do want to give them as much credit as possible. It's Ninkasi.
Okay.
From Eugene, Oregon.
Yep.
They're amazing. They took us to a Ducks game earlier this year.
Nice.
They invited us out, and then they just they took care of us while we were there. They're amazing people. They took us to the game. We tailgated with them, with the owner as well. I mean, and everyone was just very kind to us.
Yeah.
Kind of felt like celebrities.
Heck yeah.
but not, because I don't, in a non-pretentious type of way. They were just super kind to us.
Yeah.
Offered us beer, as much beer essentially we can drink, food, everything. They took very well care of us, and I do want to give a shout out to Ninkasi.
Hell yeah.
So thank you guys.
Cheers to Ninkasi.
Yeah, cheers.
Yeah, good
Ninkasi.
dudes. I met them. I don't know if it was the owner, but the shop did a collaboration with them a few years ago.
Oh yeah.
And I think I just popped in that day conveniently.
Mm-hmm.
Great people.
Yeah.
Like it's and what a badass brewery too.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh.
Like
Have you been?
I have not. No, I mean just like with the beers that they make and the artwork and all that kind of stuff. I want to go though. I want to go for sure.
Yeah, their branding's incredible. They have a lot of dinosaurs within their branding, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
They have a dinosaur actually as you walk into the brewery, like the main area.
Oh, really?
Just outside, like through the front doors. And they gave us, Jamie Floyd is one of the owners. He gave us a full-on tour.
Yeah.
He's a busy guy, right? He
Yeah.
gave us full-on tour of the whole facility, drank more beers with us.
For sure.
And we also did a bunch of tastes, because we were trying to figure out what beer type, and I will leave that for the festival.
Okay.
But what type of beer type we wanted for the festival, and there's a lot of things you kind of need to think about for that, right? A welcome beer isn't going to be an imperial stout. That might be a little too heavy, or it might not be to the liking of most people, or is it going to be on the lighter end? We don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but you guys don't know until the event day. But yeah, so that's something new this year. So it's a welcome beer, and the idea came from their team. They brought it up to us, and I said, of course, absolutely. Yeah. And this is for all of our alcohol vendors and partners out there. If they come with ideas to us, like, I'm down for it.
Yeah.
Like, I want to continue. I mentioned earlier, push the envelope and do some cool things with our partners. Like I mentioned, we're doing collabs, with a fair or a decent amount of them. So yeah, this was their idea. Their team was like, hey, I believe one of them worked in the winery industry. She's like, oh, well, when I worked in the winery industry for our events, immediately you give people champagne. Just so there's something that's sweating their palate. It's a welcome gift, if you will. And before they decide on what they even want to drink, right? If we're pushing for 120 vendors this year, there's a lot of choices. So
for sure.
They could walk around, check out each branded tent. Majority of them will be branded, and they're like, oh, do I want to try a beer from here, wine from here, spirit from here? They already have something.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to add a lot of value to the event.
For sure.
Or at least I
like
hope
that.
so.
Yeah, I think so, right? Because it's a welcome beer. First word is welcome, right? Welcome to this event. Like here's, I like that.
Yeah.
I like it because you walk into an event or a beer festival and you're like, where do we even start?
Right.
Like, where do we even start? It's a much easier decision when you have a drink in your hand.
Yeah.
There's not that pressure to be like, oh shit, we got to find something quick.
Exactly.
Like, we got something.
Yeah.
It could be an imperial stout from Ninkasi. It could be not.
Who knows?
Who knows? You won't know until the day of.
You'll find out soon, in a few weeks. Yeah. So getting back to your question though, that's the experience. So from there, and I mentioned all the tasting samples, and you can find that on our website, depending on what ticket, and you enter at a different time. VIPs at noon,
okay.
And that helps with the ingress as well for the event, and different price points depending on what you truly want out of the festival.
Yeah.
And then General Admission Plus, you just get an hour earlier from GA, so you get in at 1, and then GA gets in at 2.
Okay.
DDs can get in at any time. Obviously, if you're only with VIPs, we're not going to make you wait 2 hours. Like,
right.
Yeah, that's just not a
Makes
thing.
sense. Yeah.
Exactly. So then from there, I think majority of people are probably going to hit all the other alcohol vendors, right? But aside from the alcohol vendors, we're working on a pretty solid list of like retail vendors. Just given the demographic, there's a beard oil company.
Yeah.
That's going to be selling.
Is that Live Bearded?
No, it's Forged.
Okay.
Beard.
Okay. Yeah.
He'll be selling like beard oils and whatnot. And then we have, and again, working on that list. And then we have a lot of food vendors, and we're increasing that number this year because, again, going back to the attendee surveys, we're anticipating more attendees.
Yeah.
anticipating the sellout, which would be 5,000 for us. So we need to increase food vendors no matter what, just based off that. And wait times were a little longer than we wanted for food. Obviously, some vendors are going to have longer lines. We can't really control that. That's just the nature of events. But yeah, we're going to increase the food vendors, but we're shooting, we should have 20. I believe last year we had 13.
Okay.
And
good ones too. Like, sorry to interrupt, but like ones I've seen, like I don't know how to say it, but the most recent one you guys announced, the guys who, the Mazi.
I need to see the word in front of me right now. Yeah. Sorry, it's difficult for me, but yeah, it's Colombian food.
Yeah. It looks incredible. Like, so that's what I dig too. It's not just like, let's just find Ralph's food truck, right? Which I've seen catch on fire on the side of the freeway, but literally it caught on fire one day.
Really?
But it's good. Once again, local craft, craft. Not just the food or not just the drinks, but the food as well.
Yeah,
that's what I dig too. Yeah.
And another thing too, that the diversity of food. One, again, going back to the the vendor experience, can't have 10 burger trucks, right?
Right.
So this year with an increase, last year I don't think we had one truck that duplicated for the most part.
Yeah.
Like one truck might have had chicken wings, and another truck had chicken, but that wasn't their main focus. And yeah, we do spend a fair amount of time on diversifying those food trucks, because unfortunately we do get a lot of people that apply, and we can't choose them all.
Sure.
We get a lot of taco vendors as well, but it's picking the ones that are the right fit for a festival, and just keeping it diverse. So we'll have two pizza vendors. One does something, the pizza muffins. I don't know if you're familiar with those or have ever had those.
I haven't had them, but I've heard of them.
It's a little different, You have one that does wood fired, and then you have one that does like pizza muffins. So yeah, just keeping that diversity of all different food types. And that was one thing I think people really appreciated last year. They're like, it wasn't just like a few burger trucks or whatever. Nothing bad to say about burger trucks. Like,
but you're right, though. Like,
some good ones.
Like you're giving people options.
Yeah.
Right. The point is to have like, okay, we have all of these different things, and I dig it, man. I dig it.
Yeah. So touch on the alcohol vendors, touch on the retail, touch on the food vendors, in music as well. My brother, the older brother that I mentioned earlier today, he's been DJing his whole life, and kind of put that to the wayside. And it's not his full-time job. He's been going around to different breweries recently. And he also plays at the Vanilla Gorilla, but he'll be spinning. I think he's still supposed to be spinning vinyl, but he spins vinyl records.
Nice.
Yeah. So he'll be there. He'll be doing that. I have two friends, actually 3 other friends that are also DJs. So we have one stage that is dedicated to the 3 friends DJing. They're going to be playing all sorts of reggae, house music, like all types of music. That's the vibe. And then on a slightly larger stage, just because we need more room, I have another friend who is in a band. It's him and one of his friends. She's also my friend. Amazing vocalist. He plays the guitar. So I guess it's a duo. They'll be playing for a few hours, and then my brother's going to mix in between with his vinyl records. On that stage as well.
Nice.
So got the music covered. Another thing we did it last year, is the best of. So people's choice, essentially.
Oh, nice,
right?
nice, yeah.
Which is great, because it's allowing the people, the public, to vote on what they think is best.
I dig it. Yeah.
So at the event, and you'll be able to do that, we'll have a QR code on the ticket, where you scan your ticket with your phone, just with your camera, and it'll pull up a form where you can vote on, best beer / brewery, best winery, best distillery, food.
Yeah.
And we'll have some pretty cool trophies as well.
Nice.
Yeah, we work with again, trying to keep it local as much as possible. We work with a local metal worker who creates some crazy stuff for us. He's created some signs for us that we've given to some of our clients on the insurance side. Like, just incredible work.
One of a kind, handcrafted.
Yeah.
Once again, right?
Yeah.
The food, the drink, the awards, all of it. Yeah.
Exactly. So I, again, just trying to send more local love over there. But he's incredible. He creates amazing trophies. Or just metalwork in general. So the trophies should be pretty cool.
Nice, dude.
Yeah. And I think, that pretty much sums it up. We'll do the
Axe
awards.
throwing.
Axe
throwing?
Whoa,
Yeah.
sorry, social axe. Yeah. So we did axe throwing last year. They're coming back this year. They're actually going to be one of the hosts of our pre-parties.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah,
Excellent. What is it? Social axe?
Social axe.
Nice.
Yeah. So they have brick and mortar now, which is
Okay.
awesome. They didn't have it quite yet. Yeah, I think they opened shortly after our event last year, but they were taking their trailer around. Those guys are incredible. Really awesome, solid dudes who also, they came out to one of our pre-parties last year and like, hey, they're like, Joe? And I'm like, yeah, what's up? I was like, they're like, we're with Social Axe. I'm like, yeah, I know. I was like, I've seen you guys. But they're like, yeah, we just want to come out and support you. So again, it comes full circle, right? Everyone, and they actually have a ton of craft beer at their establishment.
Okay. Nice. Yeah.
So I think we might get creative with, having potentially more craft beer. I'm not sure how it works out with his distributor and whatnot, but serving the beers that will be at the festival, right?
Yeah.
Or from breweries and whatnot that will be at the festival, and cideries and anyone else's product he has. But Social Axe on Carvana did a pretty cool activation last year.
Oh, nice.
They had their car hauler, I believe they called their toy hauler.
Oh, yeah.
They pretty much dumped it back, and it was like essentially a one board cornhole where I think it was felted, and there's a big black spot of felt, which was essentially the hole, and you toss a beanbag and try to get in the hole, if you will. And then, their activation is still TBD this year. They also had a DeLorean last year, which I think people loved. It brought a lot of nostalgia, right? Just back to the future.
For sure.
This year is still TBD on their activation, but they will be involved as well.
Nice.
Trying to think what else, and we'll have some yard games as well. We'll have like Giant Jenga, as well as cornhole.
Awesome.
Yeah,
love it, dude. Well, I'm going to be there this year.
Okay.
I'm going to be there. Where do people find? What's the website?
Yeah, just copperstatebeerfest.com.
Nice.
And immediately on the home page, there's 2 different buttons that you could click on. If you scroll past the first one, which is right at the top, says like get tickets now. Just click that button. It'll take you to our ticket partner, and you go from there.
Awesome.
We also you can also this is something we're doing new this year. I'm wearing the shirt now. We're selling our shirts online prior to the festival.
Nice.
And then you'll be able to pick it up at the festival. Unfortunately, we're not shipping. So you'll just have to pick it up at the festival.
Dang.
Yeah.
Right. Come on. Good food, good drinks, and throwing some axes. I will. I'll pick it up. Yeah.
We'd love to. Well, obviously you're coming out, Eric, and hopefully it lives up to your expectations.
I've got high expectations, man.
Hopefully you're not like, hey, can we do another podcast? And then you're like, man, you hyped it up. It was.
This is lame.
Yeah,
dude.
you're like,
Nah, man. I'm excited. I'm excited for this year. So, dude, thanks for jumping on the show, man.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We gotta wrap this thing up. I think
no
Simple
problem.
Machine's about to start cranking some noise out here.
Yeah, no problem.
Much love to Simple Machine for hosting our podcast here, and the BMF Stout, and you got the Cashmere's Beards.
Yeah. Yep.
With TCBC collaboration. Hell yeah, man.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you,
absolutely.
Simple Machine as well, Marshall, for hosting me. Appreciate
Absolutely, buddy. Cheers, man.
Cheers, brother. Thank you.
Awesome.